I am Jim Collison, and this is the Clifton Strengths Podcast Season 3, recorded on February 16th, 2024. In this Clifton Strengths podcast series, we'll look at how to feel more energized and motivated at work, one theme at a time. Today's theme is Intellection. If you're listening live, you can join us in chat. Or if you're listening after the fact, podcast, YouTube, whatever, and you have some questions, you can always email those to us. And I get many from you. coaching@gallup.com. Dr. Jaclynn Robinson is our host today. She works as a senior learning and development consultant. Join me for season 1 and 2 of the Clifton Strengths podcast, where we looked at well-being at work and our Clifton Strengths role-based reports. And Jaclynn, always great to be with you. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are talking this season about bringing energy and motivation to work. I've mentioned this before, but I get motivated as we do these things. So by the second one, we record 2 at a time. I'm starting to get kind of pumped up. It's funny how that works in this process. We're going to talk about the individual first. So what are some ways an individual with Intellection can feel more energized by focusing on their basic needs?
They could consider organizing a brainstorming session with team members when everyone's in need of a solution to an existing barrier that might be impeding on just their work assignments. So what is a workaround solution that comes to mind? Maybe that's a question that, you pose to the room, or what actions are needed for us to resolve this issue altogether? But your ability to ask those Socratic questions, so to speak, can get people thinking and can help surface a more thoughtful and holistic approach.
Thoughtful is the word that stands out for me.
Yeah.
Right? Thinking through that. Again, Intellection is a theme I think that's influenced, and they all are in some ways, influenced by those themes that are around it, the way I go about it, the way it manifests itself in me. What are some ways an individual with Intellection can feel more energized by focusing on their individual strengths and development?
Think time. Having time and space each day to spend about just been thinking, how's the workday going for me, or how has it gone? That can be really helpful to sort through what's working and what's going to require some deeper exploration. So these thoughtful check-ins, going back to our favorite word, each day or week, if nothing more, if you're too busy, at least once a week, can help you identify more clearly where you want to place more time and effort in your development.
This may be one of those areas where intentional time set aside, much like we set aside for meditation, and that may be the same thing. And this maybe not. Depends on how the Intellection comes to you. Or we think about setting time aside for family or for exercise. Certainly for food, we try to set time aside for that. I think for the individual with high Intellection, there is a lot of value in making sure there is time available. If life is getting, we think about these, your own development with it, you need this time to think, and figuring out how that works best for you so that you can help others. We'll talk about that here in a second. I think could be strategic. That's a small s.
Little s.
Yeah. Small s on that. What are some ways an individual with Intellection can feel more energized by building partnerships and finding purpose in their roles?
I think you can give people an allowance or safe space for them to ask questions or provide insights or inquire about information. Rather than feel rushed to have an answer, close colleagues know that they have a confidant in you who will allow them that space to process and deliberate and to think because you appreciate it. And that opportunity you give people to just sit and think can really be a gift, especially in today's, fast-paced world. It's just go, go, go. So
how does that gift manifest itself as we think about the me versus the we? I think Intellection is one of those where it's easy to get the me. Like I'm doing the thinking. I am processing this, right? I don't know if it's as intuitive how does that play out? How does that mature out into the we? How is that given to others? Talk a little bit more about that. Not so much from a management perspective, but I'm thinking about how does an individual give that away to the we so that it's more powerful.
I've seen this done really well, colleague to colleague, where someone high in Intellection will say, I'm just curious, and they'll ask a question. They might have an answer, but they want to hear the other person think it through and process it and reflect. So that's a really good way. Because of that almost philosophical approach a lot of folks high in intellection have, where you go really deep, you're really good at asking deep and insightful questions.
Yeah.
And when you ask it and allow people the time to process and think or come up with their own insights, that's where it's fruitful. And silence is great because, thinking is doing. So you're not going to be probably so caught up in hearing the response that you're trying to speed up their answer. It's like, yeah, I can see in their eyes they're thinking right now.
Yeah.
But I see it a lot with question asking.
27 for me, way down. I would love the we for me was when I would be having a conversation, somebody high in intellection, and we kind of get there like, okay, I've done all the talking I can do about this. I need to think about this some more. Like, and to give permission to say, okay, you know what? Take a couple days. We'll check back in on Friday.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear what you have to think about this then. And for me, anyone willing to do that, take that, think about it and bring it back. Think about my problems or think about my issues or just think about the conversation was a reward. It was a reward for me. It was the we, I think, part in it. But I needed to be a good partner and give them time. Say, I need go take some time to think about it. They'd always smile. They usually smile when you said, go take some time. Go take some time to think about it. When we think about
me.
Yeah, you got some time. I'm going to give you some time. As we think about the manager, how can a manager with intellection support others with their basic needs?
Well, prior to holding a team meeting that's specific on expectations, maybe a new rollout, a new project, a new initiative, spend time thinking about the information that the team needs to know. What's the purpose and intent behind this expectation? What are the deadlines? Where can they acquire the necessary information to get started? Things of that sort. But give yourself the time to really home in on what it is that they're going to need to do.
Yeah. And what about giving the group some time as we think about this question of how can a manager with intellection help others feel seen, heard, and valued as an individual? Those sessions need that time needs to be carved out somehow. It needs to be honored in that. What else? What else do you think about that?
Yeah, I like that. And we can segue into that because once you've maybe laid it out, you can sit back and listen to the conversation, listen to their thoughts and tune into that global listening, which I would imagine might be fruitful to you whenever you're out of your own head and you're, considering the information others have. You can pick up on those nonverbal or verbal cues and really listen to their messaging. So use that talent then to ask constructive follow-up questions to your team members, either in the room if we're talking about expectations or in their one-on-ones. If, you're just talking to them on the side and you notice something they mentioned and you want to bring it up for deeper conversation in the one-on-one.
One of my favorite things to do is listen to folks with high intellection talk to each other, thinking through like it's awesome when it happens. Like listen, I'm not quiet very often. That's one of those moments I just get super quiet and just sit and watch listen to, because there's some really, really smart things happening, especially if they can think out loud. That's not everybody can do that. But if they can kind of think throughout, maybe there's some communication there where they can think out loud. That's fascinating to me. I learn a lot. That's an area I really enjoy listening to. And that makes them, I think that helps them when I can say, you know what I heard you say? Then they know I was listening, right? They were being heard. How can a manager with intellection build trust, inspire, and deepen team collaboration and community?
How does the team's work connect to the mission of your company? That might be a question that you think and reflect on. And then what book or philosophy or concept even does your team's hard work and efforts remind you of, or documentary or movie? But you have the capacity to bring the team's successes to life in a really deep and meaningful way by connecting their work, I would say not just to the organization itself, but to age-old life or human experiences. Um, so use your words once you've taken the time to really process the mission and purpose and how you see it connect to something, greater than the organization itself. Put them on paper because you can create a lot of impact for your team when they hear out loud these thoughts that you've been ruminating in your mind. And I've seen that done really well too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's take notes. Right.
Mhm.
Take notes on both sides. I mean, I think there's some incredible opportunities when we think about team collaboration, when the team gets an opportunity to know that they've been heard, right?
Mhm.
That those kinds of things have happened. Last question as we kind of bring this in for a landing. How can a manager within elections support the growth of each team member?
Well, when a team member shares where they want to be challenged more or they're sharing aspects of a role they want to grow in, um, take a moment and just dig deeper, which I know is probably, again, that's natural for someone high in an election. Let's go deep. So, stimulate their thinking by recommending books or mentors or articles, maybe a course that they can research and then report back on based on their learning style. So then you could reinvite that conversation in later to say, what were the key insights that you gained from that material? How will you apply what you've learned in your role? Hey, how did this article you read advance your thinking? So explore those questions more in your ongoing conversations to keep that development and growth topic alive.
Mm. I think also, this would be a great opportunity as we think we're throwing this out there,
Hmm.
Jaclyn, to the internet, right? Maybe you're on YouTube later, and for those with high intellection, think about what did we miss? Drop that in the comments
Hmm.
below and continue to share those thoughts. I'd love, think that through. What are some things that you would add to it? Because I think it's such a valuable
Hmm.
experience that we dialogue about these. Not the same for everybody. It brings light, but I'd appreciate those who we can give them. Not often can they always think maybe in the moment and answer instant questions, but throw those in the chat down there
Hmm.
in YouTube below. Jaclyn, wrap it up for us.
All right. An election. You go deep, you think deep. It's one of those themes where I would say the benefit that I see time and again is you can get into people's soul, is what I say, because you've got the questions you can ask that are so thoughtful in nature. It makes people pause and go, "Wow, I didn't think of that before." Because it's natural to you, take note of those times when people just pause and say, "Oh, I really got to think about that," or "Can you give me a minute?" That's a really good question that you've asked. And if you're a coach or you're a colleague or you're a manager, you might find that that's going to be a gem of a question that you can ask time and again to other people to go deep with them.
Love that. With that, we'll remind everybody to take full advantage of all the resources we do have available in Gallup Access. Head out to my.gallup.com or gallup.com. There's a little search button up there. Click on that, put Intellection in there, and all the resources we have available for. I mean, think about it before you do it, but all those resources we have are available out there for you. Maybe that was a bad Intellection joke. For coaching, master coaching, if you want to become a Gallup certified strengths coach, we do that as well. You can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Join us for the 2024, maybe even 2025 Gallup at Work Summit. Love to have you attend if it's early enough. Love to have you see there, either virtual. In fact, Jaclyn and I are hosting the virtual experience this year, so we'll be doing that together.
Oh,
And
yes.
we'd love to see you there. Head out to gallupatwork.com and figure out all the ways so you can get it done. Stay up to date on all future webcasts by joining our Facebook or LinkedIn groups. You can find us on any social platform by searching CliftonStrengths. If you enjoyed it, like it, share it, subscribe to it, all those things that the kids are saying that you need to do. I want to thank you for joining us today. If you are listening live, stay around for a little bit of a post show. And with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.